everyone, and welcome to this video. We are looking at the championship preview for this weekend's fixtures, and I really hope you enjoy it. This is a weekly thing that goes up usually on a Thursday before Friday night's game, and if the Premier League takes place on a Friday, then it will take place on Friday, and the Premier League preview will be on Thursday. But usually it's the Championship that goes ahead on a Friday, so we get it up one day before for the fans of the team that's playing on the Fridays. First game is between Birmingham and Swansea City. So this is the first meeting in the AFL between these two sides for 10 years. So let's get into this. So Birmingham have had a difficult start to life so far. They drew 2-2 with Norwich, conceding a very late equaliser. They lost 1-0 on Saturday to Middlesbrough, where they had Craig Gardner sent off, and also they were really poor and were lucky it stayed at 1-0. And on Tuesday night, they lost 2-0 to Reading in the Carabao Cup. Swansea are currently on maximum points. A 2-1 win over Sheffield United on the opening day, and then a 1-0 victory over Swansea, giving Swansea maximum points. So a really decent start under Graham Potter. So I'm really excited to see the future under Graham Potter. He's had a very decent start so far, as we have just said. Birmingham, not so much under Gary Monk during his first full season at Birmingham. So I'm going to go for a draw here. I think that Birmingham will really rely on their home form to stay in the league this season, and I think they will get a draw here between the two sides. That game is on Sky on Friday night, 7:45 kickoff. And then we go to Saturday's games. The first one is Bristol City versus Middlesbrough. Bristol City were tipped originally to struggle, and Middlesbrough were tipped to do extremely well. So really decent start to life in the championship for Middlesbrough this season. They are currently top of the league, having played an extra game. They drew 2-2 with Middlesbrough on the opening day after being 2-0 down. Two late goals from Martin Braithwaite and George Friend getting the equaliser there. They then played on the Tuesday night following the first game of the season, and they beat Sheffield United 3-0 with goals coming including Aidan Flint and Stuart Downing. On Saturday, as previously mentioned, they played Birmingham, where they dominated but could not score more than one goal, and a 1-0 win there. They changed things up for Tuesday night in the Carabao Cup. They did go through eventually against Notts County 3-3 after coming from behind several times, but they won on penalties. Bristol City, they've had an okay start, I guess. Nottingham Forest, they drew 1-1. They then went to Bolton, and similarly to what Middlesbrough did, they came from behind 2-0 against Bolton to get a draw, and they probably had a great chance to win it, so they could have gone with all 3 points. However, in the Carabao Cup, they lost to League One Plymouth Argyle. Obviously made changes there. I'm going to go for a Middlesbrough win here to carry on their great form at the start of the season. I really think they'll do really well this season, no doubt about it. Next, we have Hull versus Blackburn. So Hull, their form has been a little iffy. So they lost 3-1 to Aston Villa. They drew 1-1 with Sheffield Wednesday, and then they won on penalties against Sheffield United in the Carabao Cup. Blackburn, they are currently unbeaten. They drew 2-2 with Ipswich. They probably should have won that. They drew 0-0 with Millwall. They probably should have won that. And then they absolutely hammered League 2 Carlisle 5-1 on the night in the Carabao Cup. So, mixed fortunes here. There's not a lot between the sides. I'll go with a draw here, maybe 1-1 or 2-2. But there doesn't seem to be a lot between them at this minute in time. Next we go to Ipswich and Aston Villa. Ipswich have had a hard start under their new manager Paul Hurst. Paul Hurst, obviously coming from Shrewsbury, and it's not gone his way so far. So the 2-2 draw with Blackburn on the opening day. They then lost to Rotherham on Saturday with a late winner there from Michael Smith, giving Rotherham all 3 points. Then they went to League 2 Exeter and they lost on penalties after a 1-1 draw. So really concerning there. No problems whatsoever for Aston Villa. They've won every single game so far this season. A 3-1 win over Hull, a 3-2 win over Wigan, and then they went to Yeovil on Tuesday night on the game on the telly and got the win 1-0. Cora Hourihane getting the vital goal there. So I'm going to go for an Aston Villa win here to continue their great start of the season. They've signed John McGinn, who I think could be a really vital signing, but I'm going to go for an Aston Villa win. Next we go to a Yorkshire derby between Leeds United and Rotherham. So we'll start with Rotherham. They got hammered on the opening day, 5-1 by Brentford. They then, obviously, as previously mentioned, won 1-0 against Ipswich. And on Tuesday night, they beat Wigan 3-1. Leeds, they've had a fantastic start to life in the Championship. So, they beat Stoke on their opening weekend on the Sunday 3-1 in a very convincing performance. They were the late kick-off on Saturday, and they hammered Derby 4-1 in a very good performance, and then they beat Bolton 2-1 in the Carabao Cup to continue their good form. Leeds, I think, will get the win here. I think it'll be comfortable, 3 or 4-0, and once again they will continue their 100% start to this season. So a really good start already by Leeds, and I think this will continue. Next we go to Millwall and Derby. Millwall, they haven't lost or won a game so far this season. Millwall drew with Middlesbrough 2 apiece, and then they had that 0-0 draw with Blackburn, and in the Carabao Cup at home to Gillingham they drew 0-0 but won on penalties. Derby, they beat Reading 2-1 on the first day of the EFL season. A late Tom Lawrence goal giving Frank Lampard's team all 3 points. They then obviously played Leeds and got hammered 4-1 in that really good performance by Leeds. They went to Oldham on Tuesday night and won 2-0 with Mason Mount getting one of the goals. A really good performance that, and I expect a tight game here. I think it could go either way, but I'm going to give Millwall, I think they'll get the win due to home advantage. But I think it could be tight. It could be 1-0 to Millwall, 1-0 to Derby, or a draw. I think there won't be a lot between those sides. Next we go to Reading and Bolton. Reading have had a not so good start to the season, losing 2-1 to Derby with that late winner from Tom Lawrence. On Saturday they played Nottingham Forest and they lost 1-0. They won their first game of the season on Tuesday night, beating Birmingham 2-0. Bolton, a win, loss and a draw here. They beat West Brom on the opening day 2-1. Really good result that. They then drew with Bristol City 2-2, and then they lost to Leeds in the Carabao Cup 2-1. I'm going to go for a Bolton win here. I'm going to go 2-0 to Bolton. I think that they'll get the win here. And they beat West Brom. They should have beaten Bristol City. Obviously changes galore in the Carabao Cup. Reading, they haven't looked too good so far. Once again, that could go, that could be a draw. There's not a lot between those sides. Next we go to Sheffield United and Norwich. So Norwich had a 2-2 draw on the opening day with Birmingham City. Birmingham took the lead in the 89th minute, but Hernandez, who's been absolutely superb for Norwich, getting that late equaliser. They then had a crazy game on Saturday with West Brom, losing 4-3. Hernandez once again being everywhere and looking very sharp. But they could not get anything from that game. On Tuesday night they played League 2 Stevenage and easily won 3-1. Sheffield United, a little bit of mixed fortune here. They lost on the opening day to Swansea 2-1 after being 1-0 ahead. They then got hammered by Middlesbrough 3-0 on the Tuesday. Saturday they played QPR and won 2-1, but they lost on penalties to Hull, 1-1 in the Carabao Cup. I'm going to go for a Norwich. No, I'm going to go for a draw. I don't think there's a lot between the sides. It could go either way, but I'm going to go, based on the form, I'm going to go for a draw there. Next, we have West Brom versus QPR. So West Brom got their first win of the season under Darren Moore, and that was really important on Saturday. So they lost, as previously mentioned, to Bolton 2-1. They then on Tuesday night went to Nottingham Forest, and despite being outplayed for most of the game, they managed to get a draw through a Matty Phillips late equaliser. They went to Norwich in that cracking game and won 4-3, and on Tuesday night they beat Luton 1-0. It's been a hard life to the season so far for QPR, losing to Preston 1-0, losing to Sheffield United 2-1, and then beating Peterborough 2-0 in the Carabao Cup. Sheffield United were very, very fortunate with a penalty, and I think their first goal was offside as well. So really, really harsh defeat that for sure. I'm going to go, because West Brom are at home, I'm going to go for a West Brom win. I'm going to go 2-0 to the Baggies, and continue. That'd be 3 wins in a row, including that Carabao Cup success over Luton, and that would be decent after that first day defeat to Bolton. Final 3 o'clock fixture is Wigan versus Nottingham Forest. So Wigan won their first game back in the Championship 3-2 against Sheffield Wednesday. The following week they went to Aston Villa and lost 3-2 with a late Barneson goal, and in the Carabao Cup they lost 3-1. Nottingham Forest, they've had an okay start. They drew 1-1 with Bristol City. They drew 1-1 with West Brom. They beat Reading, and then they beat Bury on penalties after playing with 10 men for around 60 minutes after their goalkeeper was sent off. So they made a lot of changes as well. I'm going to go here for a Wigan win. They've been pretty decent at home, so I'm going to go with a Wigan win. Once again, that one could also go either way. And finally, the TV game on Saturday, the 5:30 kickoff, is between Preston and Stoke. So Stoke have had a really, really tough start to life so far. They lost 3-1 to Leeds in their opening game, and then they drew 1-1 with Brentford, and by all accounts they were very, very lucky to get that draw. Preston, however, they won on the opening day 1-0 against QPR, who haven't picked up a point yet this season. They then went to Swansea and lost 1-0 before a 3-1 win over Morecambe, who are currently propping up the EFL. I'm going to go for Stoke to get a win here, 2-1. I think that their form will turn around soon, and I think it'll be turning around on Saturday night. This will be probably a really good game. Stoke have just come down. Preston just missed out on the playoffs under Alex Neil, so this should be a really, really good game. So to confirm the fixtures, on Friday night it's Birmingham versus Swansea, and then Saturday we have Bristol City versus Middlesbrough, Hull versus Blackburn, Ipswich versus Aston Villa, Leeds versus Rotherham, Millwall versus Derby, Reading versus Bolton, Sheffield United versus Norwich, West Brom versus QPR, Wigan versus Nottingham Forest, and in the late game we have Preston versus Stoke. So that is my preview and predictions for the Championship. This is the third match day of the season. I really hope you enjoy it. Tell me your predictions down below. If you agree or disagree, let me know down below. Thank you so much for watching this video. Subscribe if you're new. That really helps the channel out. If you enjoyed the video, that means a lot. So thank you so much for watching anyway. My name is Mike, and I will see you soon.